Yo, what up, brothers? What's up? It's the director. Chargers fans, I got an awesome video for you guys today. I want to ask a pretty big question. Is there a chance that the Chargers could lead the NFL in sacks in 2020? We definitely have some of the best pass rushers in the league, but what is the big difference in 2020 that could push the Chargers over the edge? Now, before we get started, guys, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this video. Let's start by stating something a little painful. The Chargers actually didn't post up the best stats in 2020 when it came to total sacks, ranking 27th in the league with only 30 sacks overall. The league leaders last season were the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had number one with 54 sacks on the season. Now, what's going on in my mind that would make me think the Chargers could go from 27th all the way to number one, maybe even the top five? Let's break it down. Let's start with our pass rushers, beginning with Joey Bosa, who posted 11.5 sacks last season. Obviously one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, yet only ranking number 9 in the league with 11.5 sacks. Guys like Shaquille Barrett with 19.5 and Chandler Jones with 19 total definitely dominated last season. We've also got Melvin Ingram, who posted up 7 sacks, Uchenna Nwosu, who posted 2, and Isaac Rochelle with 1. But the Chargers have 2 of the best defensive ends in football in Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, so what's going on here? Well, let's move into our defensive tackle positions. This is probably going to be the biggest factor in helping the Chargers boost up their sack numbers in 2020, being the signing of Linval Joseph at defensive tackle. Now, Joseph himself only posted 3 sacks last season, but that's pretty good considering the kind of defensive tackle he is. He's a really big run-stuffing defensive tackle that really eats up a lot of blocks. Now, I'm sure that last part gave you a big hint. He eats up a lot of blocks. Now, I think proof of that lies in his other defensive ends who were pretty good in Minnesota last season as well. Daniel Hunter and Everson Griffin posted up a combined 22.5 sacks last season, just those 2 alone. And I think a lot of it has to do because Linval Joseph was just eating up so many blocks every single game. So right away, that huge upgrade to the defensive line should free up Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram just a bit. Our other defensive tackles, Justin Jones, Jerry Tillery, who put up 2 sacks last season as well, they have a chance to make an impact too. And I think if Jerry Tillery can really elevate this season, 2 sacks in a really bad year does actually speak volumes to what he could do if he did step up in performance in 2020. I think Jerry Tillery is definitely capable of somewhere between 4 and 6 sacks in the year if he does have a very decent season. But it really depends on how much he's progressed since last year. Obviously last year being disappointing, but you never know, it could happen. Now let's move on to our linebackers. The Chargers do operate in a 4-3 defense, which means primarily the pass rush is going to be coming from our defensive line, less pass rushing coming from the linebackers. However, we do have a very capable group of linebackers led by Kenneth Murray, Drew Tranquill, Denzel Perryman, and Nick Vigil. I can guarantee that the Chargers linebackers are going to shine in 2020, and this is a huge component to the pass rush. I feel like the Chargers run stopping capabilities are about to see a huge boost, and that's going to dictate what's going to happen on offense for our opponents. If guys like Kenneth Murray are hitting the gap, causing a lot of disruption for their run game, they could incline the offense to move towards passing a little bit more, and that's where the Chargers are really dominant. Stopping the pass. The Chargers already had a really good group of DBs last season led by Casey Hayward, Desmond King, and Derwin James, but we did just add a massive piece to this puzzle in Chris Harris Jr. Add on to that, we can see guys like Nasir Adderley, maybe even Alohi Gilman, and step up into the limelight a little bit too. I feel like it's going to be very, very difficult to pass on this defense. Now, the DBs themselves maybe could rack up a couple of sacks themselves, specifically Derwin James, but I do think what's more important is how good this team is going to be in coverage. I'm sure most football savvy fans know that with good coverage usually comes coverage sacks. And this basically means that the DBs are doing such a good job at making sure nobody gets open that it gives the pass rushers more time to get to the quarterback. Just imagine for me with a second, week 1, Joe Burrow coming out fresh, his very first game of the season, trying to pass to his targets AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, and maybe even John Ross. As good as AJ Green and Tyler Boyd may be, going up against guys like Casey Hayward, Chris Harris, Desmond King, Derwin James, it's going to take a minute for these guys to get acclimated. And this is going to give opportunities for guys like Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram to come free off of the line and properly welcome Joe Burrow to the NFL. And that helps me segue into my next point, being our strength of schedule. Now, I've seen from several sources that Chargers have a pretty favorable strength of schedule, and I think the biggest thing I want to look at is the offensive lines of these teams. So I took a look on Pro Football Focus to see the rankings of the teams that we're going to be playing up against. This is kind of what I found out. The Bengals ranked 31st, Chiefs 12th, Panthers 17th, Buccaneers 13th, Saints 2nd, Jets 27th, Dolphins 32nd, Jags 26th, Raiders 11th, Broncos 14th, Bills 18th, Patriots 7th, and Falcons 24th. And I don't think this even took into consideration a lot of the opt-outs that we saw from the pandemic this offseason. Guys like Tardif and Lucas Niang from the Kansas City Chiefs opted out. Carolina Panthers Russell Okung may be retiring. Broncos starting right tackle Ja'Wuan James has opted out, and Patriots Marcus Cannon starting right tackle has also opted out. That means in several instances, Joey Bosa is going to be going up against second or third string offensive tackles. That right there should already boost Joey Bosa into some impressive numbers. The Chargers pass rush should be something spectacular to watch this season, and it doesn't all just fall on the shoulders of Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. It falls on the shoulders of this impressively boosted defense as a whole. Pass rushers already solid, defensive tackles, the acquisition of Linval Joseph this offseason eating up tackles is going to contribute. Our linemen absolutely dominating out there. I feel like Kenneth Murray, Drew Tranquill, Denzel Perryman, Nick Vigil, these guys are going to be able to help us stop and slow down the run, making this our opponents move to the pass maybe more than they want to. And once they get passing, our elite defensive back core, Chris Harris Jr., Casey Hayward, Desmond King, Derwin James, these guys are going to make you pay for it. If they themselves aren't making plays, swats, interceptions, they're going to be buying time for our pass rushers to get to the quarterback. You combine that with a pretty soft schedule specifically against offensive lines that honestly are missing a lot of pieces and rank well below average versus maybe other schedules in the league. I feel like all of this in combination could result in a pretty spectacular outing by our defensive ends, our linebackers, anybody getting to the quarterback this season. But don't forget, guys like Kenneth Murray, Denzel Perryman, Drew Tranquill, these guys are capable of getting sacks as well, including Derwin James in the secondary. So what do I think? What do I think the magic number is going to be for the Chargers this season? Well, considering that the league was led last year by the Pittsburgh Steelers with 54 sacks, that's somewhere around the realm of what we're going to need in order to accomplish, top 5 in the season next year. I really think the Chargers are capable anywhere between 45 and 53 sacks this year. I honest to God think that Joey Bosa, considering he's going to be going up against, second and third string tackles this year, could rack up as much as 16, 19 sacks this year. I'm not even kidding, guys. You guys remember that game versus the Bears last year? Bosa popped off. And I feel like we could see that a couple of times this year. Remember the Broncos, we play them twice a season, and Ja'Wuan James is out. Bosa very well may be the league leader in sacks in 2020. It's absolutely possible this guy puts up an absolutely insane season with the Chargers. Melvin Ingram could probably get 8 to 10 sacks as well. I see Uchenna Nwosu being pushed into the limelight a little bit more, especially if they're looking for him to replace Melvin Ingram at some point in the future. He could put up as much as 4 or 6 sacks. Jerry Tillery could elevate himself into a position to put up 5 or 6 sacks. Linval Joseph, for heaven's sake, should put up at least 3 or 4. I could see Kenneth Murray with maybe 3 or 4. Derwin James maybe picking up a couple. I don't know, man. I have a feeling, dude. I have a feeling when it comes to the Chargers that our pass rush is about to pop off. What do you guys think in the comments section below? Do you think the Chargers are capable of going from worst to first in just one offseason? I think all the acquisitions that the Chargers made this offseason is going to spell out something really special in 2020. I don't know how many people see us coming, but when they do, moments like these are a reminder to every team in the NFL that the Chargers are to be reckoned with. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Like and sub if you did enjoy this content. We'll see you next time, and as always, stay frosty and bolt up.